face is really ashy right now. I need to moisturize right now, so I'm not going to make this intro too long, but basically in this video I'm going to share with you guys some tips and tricks on how I like to contour. So this is not like, oh, this is how you should contour, these are the rules. No, I'm not a professional, but I do find inspiration from professionals, so I'm not just coming up with these things at the top of my head, but with practice I've gotten better, and it's something that I really enjoy doing. Contouring and highlighting has brought my makeup on a whole other level. I absolutely love the way my skin looks. It just looks a lot more natural, and the contouring brings dimension back into your face because once you apply foundation it can look a little like bleh. And the highlighting just catches the light so beautifully. It just looks so nice, but it also depends on the way that you're doing it, because if you're not doing it the right way, your contour can look slightly muddy, and a lot of people tend to put a lot more highlighter than they need. So I decided that I want to make a video on how I like to do it, because a lot of people tell me they like the way I contour and highlight. So I was like, okay, let me just show you guys how I do it so that you guys can do the same thing if it's what you like, or kind of tweak it to whatever fits your style of makeup. And by the way, my mom braided my hair yesterday. I'm really excited about this. I didn't think that she'd be able to braid the whole thing, so I'm happy with this. The only reason why I left these two strands here is because I want you guys to know that there is hair on my head. Now that you guys know, let's put it in the back and let's get down to business. Okay, so the main product that I'll be using today is this palette right here. This is the Cream Contour Kit by Anastasia Beverly. And yeah, if you're kind of getting confused, should I get a cream contour kit, should I get the powder, I did some research on this, and from the makeup artists that I feel inspired by, a majority of them were using cream products to contour because they say it just gives the most natural finish. I mean, I've actually tried powder and cream, of course, and I can honestly say that it is very true. Of course, when you're using powder, it's a lot easier, so for people who are not really like into taking their time to do the whole contouring and all of that, I would recommend powder. But if you really want to like sculpt your face and make it look as natural as possible and just make it look like skin really, I would definitely recommend cream. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is moisturize my face, and this is what I use. Now, this is not something I do only when I'm contouring. I always like to moisturize my face, so it feels so good. Okay, then I'm just gonna moisturize my lips as well. There you go. And by the way, let me know, do you guys rather a voiceover or me talking through the whole thing? I wanted to try the whole talk through video, which I've done before, but for this I was like, let me just talk through the whole thing. And yeah, let me know if you guys like this or the other one better. Now the next step is not like necessary, but if you have dry skin, I would definitely recommend this product. And you're probably thinking, what are you talking about? You've always said you had oily skin. My skin is combination oily and sometimes, depending on the season, depending on, I don't know, my skin just sometimes is really dry. This really helps in like, I don't even know how to explain what this thing does, so you would have to try it for yourself, but it just helps the products glide on a lot more smooth. And I just really like this. I like this to prime my face and also to set my face. So let me just... Okay, now that my skin feels really nice, I'm gonna go in with color correction. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's basically, I mean, it depends because you can use an orange one, a green one, and all of that. All the colors have a different purpose, and what I like to use is a peach toned concealer. This is actually concealer, it's not a color corrector, and I just go over the darkest areas of my face. Now, some of you may think this is an unnecessary step, and if you say that, it's either because you don't need it, or number two, you've never actually tried it. I personally always do this, and it really does help in making my skin look a lot more like smooth, like one color. When you apply your foundation on top of it, it just looks a lot more like smooth. Because if I don't do this, what happens is I put my foundation on top and it just looks kind of ashy, which I don't really like. So let me just finish color correcting and I'll be right back with you guys. Okay, so a tip that I'd like to give you guys is number one, make sure that you're contouring and highlighting in a room that has good lighting. Right now I have a huge window in front of me, so there's natural light coming into my room and the lighting is just really good. The reason why I say that is because if you're not, there can be shadows coming from all over the place and you might feel like you need to contour more on this side and less on this side, and then when you come in a room that is well lit, you're just like, oh. it look better in that room. So just make sure that you're doing this in a well-lit room. Okay, so now that I've finished color correcting all of the darker areas on my face with a peach tone concealer, I will go in with my foundation. The foundation that I use is this one. I'm starting to feel like it's a little, it's not that it's dark, but it does oxidize. This is the HD foundation by Makeup Forever, and I like to use this buffing brush by Real Techniques. Another tip that I'd like to give you guys is always start with a small amount of product and then build your way up, okay? You don't need to start with a lot of product, because when you do that, it's always harder to remove than to add, and it tends to look a lot more cakey when you start with a lot of product. So I'm just focusing this on the bottom half of my face, because I mean, there's gonna be more product added here with the highlighting and all of that, so I don't really want to add too much. Okay ladies, now let's get information. Okay, so now for the fun part. I'm going in with the lightest shade right here. This is the color Cream. I don't know if I mentioned this, but there are 3 different palettes for the cream contour, and I have the medium one. I'm actually going back in with this brush. This is not the best brush to use to do the highlighting, just because it doesn't have like a precise like shape, but it's okay. I like to mix this with my foundation just a bit, because it's slightly light and I don't like it looking ashy under my eyes. So I'm just spreading this under my eyes, and I never really start with the triangle thing. I don't really think that's really necessary, but this is like how I like to do it. Look at that. So I'm just gonna add that under my eyes, on my forehead just a bit, not too much on my nose, on my cupid's bow, and on my chin, because these are the areas that the light naturally hits first on your face. So after I've added all of the lighter shades, I just go in with this Real Techniques, I think it's called the complexion sponge, and I just like to blend that out. Every time I add contour or highlight, I always like to use the sponge, and it just makes it look a lot more natural. It blends everything together. Okay, so now that I've highlighted the highest points of my face, I go in with a darker shade to contour. And these are the shades that I like to use. I like to mix this one and this one. And to make it a little more creamy, I go in with the foundation that was left on the back of my hand. Because if you have this palette, you know that the products are not too creamy, which personally I think is good for a contour palette, contour and highlight palette. So the same concept, you don't want to add too much. We're not trying to show that we've contoured, we're just trying to emphasize the natural shadows that we already have. So, and personally, I like to add it just slightly higher because it really does lift my cheekbones. See that? And I like to just drag it up just so that it doesn't look like a line right here. And I'm kind of scooping it because I like to lift it and not drag it. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so now that I've contoured my cheekbones, I'm gonna go down here my jaw and on my temples. The reason why I like to contour my forehead is not necessarily to make it look smaller, but my forehead is naturally darker than the rest of my face. So I just feel like by adding a darker shade right here, it really just looks a lot more natural than having just one shade, like the shade of your foundation. It just doesn't look as natural. really contour my nose all that much, but for the sake of this video, let me just do it a bit. I'm just gonna pinch this brush and mix both colors again. So I wouldn't recommend using this brush for an area as small as this one, but I never really contour my nose, so that's why I'm using this. Now, like I said, I like to just blend everything with my, I think, complexion sponge. Let's just call it the beauty blender, even though this is by Real Techniques. Alright, so now that I'm done with that, I like to actually go in with concealer as well. I like to use this one by L.A Girl, which is in the shade Warm Honey, and then highlight a bit more with this, and that really like brightens my under eyes. It's so pretty, I find. So I'm just gonna dot that. Okay, I added a lot more than I should have, but it's okay. Then I like to just dot this one. So then I just blend this out with this e.l.f. concealer brush. And when I'm blending it out, I'm not dragging it downward. I'm just keeping it in the same spot, and if anything, bringing it up closer to my lash line. See how this is not necessarily like transforming my face, but it's really just making everything look so... I just love contouring and highlighting. Doesn't this look so much better than just applying one shade of foundation all over your face? Like, alright, so right away I'm gonna go in with the setting powder. All I use this for is for my under eyes and like a bit of my chin and the areas that I highlighted. Because if I use this all over my face, I just feel like it looks a bit ashy. But yeah, okay. My slightly damp beauty blender, and just dunk this in. I've learned this from so many like makeup artists here on YouTube. I just personally feel like it gives the best results when I do it this way. I'm just gonna go with this brush, fluffy Real Techniques brush, and brush that away. Alright, so now that that's done, I'm gonna go in with this powder foundation, and this is in Hazelnut by Benefit. I love this. I've been using this for so long. I've never heard anybody talk about it on YouTube. Now, keep in mind when I'm doing this, I'm not going too close to my under eyes because I want to keep that highlighted color. And I'm adding a very light amount, like, and then even tapping off the excess. Okay, so now to give me a sun-kissed glow, I like to go in with this product. Now, I used to say that I felt just indifferent about this product, but now I really like it for this reason. It really gives me a glow, especially in the summer. This is a mineralized powder by Sephora, and I'm in the shade Foncé Deep. I feel like Sephora products are really underrated. Like, they're so good. So if you're looking for an affordable product at Sephora, try Sephora brand. Okay, so I'm going with this tulip shaped brush, and I'm just gonna do the reverse 3 technique. If you don't know about that, it's basically, let me show you. Just like that. And this might seem like a beginner's like tip or whatever, but rather than like just focusing the bronzer on my cheek, I really feel like this looks so much more natural. I really love doing this. Just a bit on the tip of my nose. Okay, we are almost done. The last thing that I'm going to be doing is applying highlighter, and I got this from my friend Alex. I love it. This is an Opal, I think, by Becca. Yeah, Opal. And this is the brush that I like to use. I think there's this Anastasia one that a lot of people love, but this is what I have, so it works fine. And I'm just applying this right here. And then I like to just drag it underneath my brow. That's how I like to do it. Just a bit. Now I'm gonna apply a little more than I normally do, only so that you guys can see it well on camera. Can you see this glow? Then I'm going in with this blending brush by MAC. I also got this for my birthday. Shout out to you, Melissa. 224. Just trying a bit by the tip of my nose and on the bridge. Also on my cupid's bow. Alright, so now that we are done with that, I'm gonna go with the flat side of my beauty blender and just press that in. It just melts all the products together, I find. Alright, so let me just finish the rest of my makeup and I'll be right back. Okay, so I just filled in my brows, applied a bit of mascara and some lipstick. Now I'm just gonna set my face with the same primer that I used in the beginning. And the reason why I apply this is at the end is not necessarily to keep it all day. If I were to do that, I would use the Urban Decay. That's the one that I would use. But this one just, I don't know, it just makes my skin look like skin again. After using all of these products, I think that this is actually a must at the end. So yeah, I'm done. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and learned something new. If you did, make sure to let me know. And also if you have any suggestions for any other videos, makeup related or music, or any suggestions that you guys may have, let me know in the comments down below. Last thing that I want to mention before I leave is that I do have a fundraiser on GoFundMe. It's called Dose of Love and it's to help homeless people here in Montreal. So I'd really appreciate your support. If you can afford to donate, then you can always just share the page. So I would really appreciate that. I actually did a cover of Hollow by Tori Kelly and I actually dedicated that cover to the fundraiser, so go check that out as well. I love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in today and I'll see you in the next